over 22 years of my life, I lived in rented houses. So deep down, my innate desire was to earn as much money faster, to own a house and avoid all the bad landlords and all the bad experiences that I have had, or rather we as a family have had. Age 22, I bought my first house. My purpose in life was to be a lighthouse to people desirous of buying, selling of property and saving them from all the costly mistakes. Whenever somebody comes to me either for buying or selling, I first do a need analysis.
So you align the real estate decisions based on the business plan.
It is not only aligning but also guiding them through that what they require and where and why. It's not about just aligning the need, but also you have to marry a lot of things. It has to serve him for the entire journey that he is planning for. The failures have been more than the successes, Vipul.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the episode number 40 of Business Networking with Vipul Bondal. You know, when you start any new thing, you normally make a list of people that you would want to have the first opportunity on that. You know, typically what we call friends and family. So there are some people who are at the top of the list. One such person who was on top of the list, he is on our guest list today. So a very dear friend, Prashant Salvi, who is the founder and CEO of Realworth Property Services, a real doyen in his industry, and I would love to interact with him about his life journey so far. So Prashant is the founder of Realworth Property Services, a company he founded in September 2012. Prashant has done his BSc in physics in electronics instrumentation from B.N. Bandodkar College in Thane. And he has also done his master's in financial management from Somaya Institute of Management. He's served in some prestigious organizations like Citigroup, Colliers, Inorbit Malls, and NAI Global. He is a 25 years veteran in the global real estate industry with transaction and advisory expertise across multiple asset classes, that is land, office, retail, industrial, warehousing, pre-leased, and real estate private equity. He has concluded 7.5 million plus square foot of transactions pan India till date. It's my absolute pleasure to invite on the podcast today Prashant Salvi, a corporate and commercial real estate specialist in this world. Welcome, Prashant.
Thank you, Vipul. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. All yours.
Okay, so Prashant, from physics to real estate, I mean, a transition which normally one would not expect, but you made the transition, and you've been there now for what, almost 30 years, if I'm not mistaken. Can you tell us how
Yes.
you got into this? Because, you know, I mean, 30 years ago, I also began my career roughly around that time. And, you know, this wasn't one of those preferred career choices at that point of time. So why real estate? How did you get into it? I'm sure there's a very interesting story there. If you can just tell us a little bit about your entry into the real estate industry.
So, if I may, Vipul, I'll just give you a quick backdrop in terms of what I actually do. So I advise and handhold CXOs, high net worth individuals, and ultra high net worth individuals in making sound real estate investment decisions. Either they are buying decisions, selling decisions with utmost clarity, step by step, such that I save them from stress, anxiety, and ensure that I save them 30% of their precious time and 20% of their real estate costs every time in any market cycle. So that being said, my journey for the last 30 years have been quite a bit, but I'll try to be as short as possible. So I come from very humble beginnings, Vipul, and for over 22 years of my life, I lived in rented houses since we couldn't afford to buy one. So deep down, my innate desire was to earn as much money faster, to own a house one day and avoid all the bad landlords, and all the bad experiences that I have had, or rather we as a family have had.
Right.
So after doing a couple of odd sales jobs to support my family, I started working with City Group at age 21 as a sales trainer. Did well, and age 22, I bought my first house.
Okay.
Eventually in early 1997, I got an opportunity to start the residential broking division for Citibank called India Home. Now, this was a subject that was close to my heart. And while it was a very lucrative vertical, where it enabled me to make more money in incentive than in salary,
Right.
I knew that I had found my purpose in life. And my purpose in life was to be a lighthouse to people desirous of buying, selling of property, and saving them from all the costly mistakes. And those costly mistakes could be, save them from anxiety, frustrations, bad decisions, legal tangles, and above all, the loss of precious time and the hard-earned money. Now, all these I had experienced firsthand. And later, I worked with companies like Colliers, BTZ, and so on, where I honed my real estate skills, real estate consulting skills in the international real estate arena, broking and advisory services at senior levels, where I handled high value and complex real estate transactions, both acquisitions as well as divestments for corporates and global investors. Later from there, and I worked as a senior management level at Innorbit Malls as head of leasing and strategy, and played a pivotal role in rolling about 7 malls across the country, each of about 5.5 lakh square feet. And finally, I worked with a company called NAI Global as their MD for India in the CRE space. CRE is nothing but corporate real estate, which focuses more on the commercial real estate side, and set up their business from scratch in India. Now, in all, till then, I had completed about 1,200 advisory assignments, about $100 million raised in private equity in real estate for clients, and over about 6.5 million square feet transacted across asset classes such as office space, land, warehouse, pairs, five-star pairs, retail, factories, etc. And in 2012, my purpose came calling, and I decided to go the entrepreneurial way. So that has been my journey, and that is why you see me in real estate.
So how's been your journey so far? I mean, 2012 to now, so it's about what, 13 odd years or 12 and a half years or so. So,
Yeah.
how have you progressed on your purpose, so to say? I mean, are you satisfied with your journey? Or do you think you've come halfway? And I know you'll never probably be fully satisfied. That I can understand. But how do you see yourself 12 or 13 years down the line after having started your own?
Well, Vipul, it has been quite an experience. Initially, of course, it was an unknown kind of a terrain. You switched on from whatever safe zones that you had. But in terms of satisfaction, I must say that it has been immensely satisfying. And I continue to do so. And as you rightly said, it is a pursuit that will never end. I think that will go on till we can actually have our feet on the field and keep serving our clients. But it has been a very fructifying journey. Handled so many complex transactions, brought joy to so many faces. Apart from the money, I think that is the most satisfactory that I have had.
So, the real estate space is not something most people understand very well. Most people know about it, I think, but unlike some of the other fields of so let's say stock markets or other investment instruments, people know very little about real estate, and that is why they depend on experts like you. So, can you tell us a little bit about the business itself? I mean, how is it structured? What are the different types of opportunities which are available? What are the purposes? So, if you can just make it, let's say, easy for common people to understand.
As a nature of this investment, uh, it is for most of the people, it is a very important decision of their lives. But seldom, there is an organized way of going about, this purchase or a sale, and there is more of a overwhelm, there is more of a want than a need, and stuff like that. So to answer your question, Vipul, this is an asset class apart from many other financial instruments that we know of, and gold and whatever else. This is a very illiquid asset class. It has to be very strategic, with a lot of clarity in your mind, why you're doing what you're doing. And as far as the real estate landscape per se is concerned in India, it has come a long way. It used to be very, very unorganized. From there, it has come to the RERA era now.
Right.
It is still not there, but it is just inching towards what it should be in a developed country, and there is a long way to go. Having said that, it is an asset class that one must, consider in its lifetime. And I have been doing that all my life to ensure that my clients do not go haywire with their real estate investments and their divestments whenever they have to. So to sum it up, it has to be very, very thoughtful. You don't buy for the sake of buying because it is not an instrument where you can liquidate that and get money in the next 2 days, 10 days, 1 month, 2 months. So typically one needs to plan. Even a sale takes time. And essentially, buying is very, very easy, selling is tough. And therefore, you must have a plan in mind when you have to liquidate and start much, much earlier. And I would recommend you start at least 7 to 9 months earlier before you want to see the D date and the money in your bank account.
So, what is typically your approach to your customer? I mean, if let's say somebody comes and says that they are interested in investing in real estate, and you also know that they have, let's say, a substantial amount of money available with them to invest. So, when you go about it, how do how do you help them, and what is your thought process with which you advise them on how they can go about it? And they are, for example, they're very clear. They want to look at real estate. They have the waiting power to wait it out and get a good return on investment. But they need somebody to handhold them through the process. So, what is the process that you undertake when you advise such customers?
Very good question. This is what I do day in and day out, and I take pride in doing that. So let's assume that we have someone who does not have the stress of getting the money ASAP, then they are better off. But in general, I would say that the way I go about the process is whenever somebody comes to me either for buying or selling, I first do a need analysis. It is my proprietary approach and a very structured approach as to what that person is doing and why. And once you have understood the purpose behind that decision that one is making, then I would typically comment or suggest whether they are on the right path or the wrong one. Now, if it is the wrong one, we obviously, very sorry to say, but we, like other brokers, we don't push them in a transaction, but we actually guide them and handhold them and say that this is not required for you, and we guide them to the right one. There have been cases, Vipul, if I have the liberty of time, I can give you 1 or 2 cases.
Please do. I mean, I
Can
think
I?
if you explain with a case, it'll probably help us to understand this better. Please go on.
Yes. So some time ago, maybe about 7, 8 months ago, I had a very dear friend of ours, even you know him, Gajanan Pote had referred us to one of his NRI clients. And he had been stuck on a real estate investment now for about 13 years, right? Now, 13 years ago, he was very young, enterprising, and now he turned into a NRI living in the UK, doing very well, earning very well in pounds and stuff like that. So for a long time, that particular investment did not hurt him. However, it was an ORI decision that he had done because that development in which he invested in was an investment which he should have never done. Because the developer had actually prodded them, left the building incomplete. It took about 8 years for them to complete. Thereafter, he wanted to sell it, nobody bought it. Wrong people came and did some arrangements with him. He failed. He went into a legal tangle, you know. And then when he came back, he said that I now want to buy a house in London and I want to use the money, but and I want to do it very fast. So first thing first, I needed to guide him, saying that it is not a Maggie noodle that you would want. It will take at least 6 months time, and once we have gone through the process and the perfect strategy is when you will actually be able to sell.
So
And
you
we did
actually
just that.
started with setting the expectations right, so that
Yep, absolutely, absolutely.
okay.
He had an expectation which was something about 60 lakhs. Eventually, we sold it for 83 lakhs. That's a different story. But the major part of that was that we had the right strategy in place. So rather than we looking out for a client, we went ahead with the strategy that we looked inward within the same complex. Because the person who's living within the complex will know all the negatives and still would want to buy, right? And that would be his innate need to buy. So we wanted to marry the need of selling to need of buying,
Right.
which is where we can also get optimal value. And that's what we did, right? So that was one. Second is an example which belongs to the corporate world. And we had a large company who wanted to put up their shared services center in Pune. And when they came to us, they said that, look, we want a 500,000 square feet, tailor-made, built to suit kind of a premise. And as my normal process, I started probing and I asked them a lot of hard questions to which they were not used to. So they said, what is it to do with our requirement? You're asking us, what's your business plan for the next 5 years? Who are the people who are going to be sitting there? What their salary brackets are? Where are they going to come from? What is their, HR rollout plan? How many people will be, hired in the first year, next year, third year? How does it really matter? And then I said that just give me the data and I'll prove it why it matters. And once we had that data, though reluctantly, we said that, look, you don't need a 500,000 square feet edifice. You require a very measured kind of a strategic expansion. And we had a hard time, but reluctantly they agreed. And it was a boon actually to them that they agreed that ultimately we said that you require expansion in 3 phases. So likewise, we did that entire transaction by buying the land, tying up with the developer, doing a back-to-back arrangement with the client, and I would not name that client for obvious reasons. And then we had that entire setup of the whole agreement structured in such a manner that in the first year, they had only 188,000 square feet delivered. Okay. The next phase of 150,000 square feet was to come after 2 years. And this is a transaction which goes back like a decade now. And Vipul till date, they still carry the same 328,000 square feet or odd, and not 5 lakh square feet. And now you can imagine the millions of rupees and dollars that they have saved. Okay. They will never forget me. And by the way, when the people from there moved, they gave me business because they knew that I'm going to take them on the right path.
So you align the real estate decisions based on the business plan. I mean that's what you do, right? I mean, so that people don't end up buying too early or buying too late, or vice versa. I mean, selling too early or selling too late.
Yes, yes. So it's not only that, it is not only aligning, but also guiding them through that what they require and where and why. Okay, because it's not about just aligning the need, but also you have to marry a lot of things. His future expectations, his current expectations. So the location has to be accordingly. It has to serve him for the entire journey that he is planning for. And that's what exactly we do. It's more than aligning. It's then marrying the market intelligence and our prowess to strike a deal for him that way.
Tell me till now, I mean, if you were to look at all your transactions, okay, at least okay, let's say the last transaction in the last 12 years that you've done, can you tell me some of your toughest challenges? Which have been your toughest challenges as an assignment?
The failures have been more than the successes, Vipul,
No, no.
honestly.
Challenges. So let's say a deal was complicated and how you know, took them through it. Sometimes these things help because the learning that comes out of it in terms of how you should structure the next deal for them, for example. So, can you walk us through one or two such challenges that you may have seen?
Certainly. So I'll share with you two case studies again because that will be better for our audience to understand.
Correct.
There's a global Japanese company, and again, I'm not naming them
Yeah.
for obvious reasons. They had come to me to get an office space on rent. And when I took them through the process in terms of their need analysis, it came out that they had some 5 offices in the same location, all separated as per divisions.
Okay.
Now that is a certain call for disaster. Okay. Because every person who is heading that division becomes the fiefdom. He is the boss,
He's the boss.
and everything goes in different directions as per their own whim and fancy. So I mooted the idea that why don't we all come under one roof,
Right.
okay? And that would typically ensure the operations are efficient. There is a lot of camaraderie, there is a lot of cross sell, and eventually it is going to be a great business together.
Yeah.
Reluctantly, though, the CEO I was able to convince, and the CEO was on my side, fortunately. And what transformed thereafter was impact because from 5 offices, we made that into one consolidated office in a Dairy East.
Okay.
From there, we consolidated their Delhi operations. And as a matter of fact, they saved about 44% of costs which were recurring.
Okay.
And their businesses shot in terms of turnover across divisions, which they had never done earlier. Now, that is one example. Second example is of a very complex transaction, which was a build to suit transaction.
Okay.
This transaction, before coming to me, had gone to a lot of other brokers, consultants, and the stalemate was not getting done. It reached a stage where the deal had already broken off. The developer went his way and the client went his way. And that is when I entered. And
Right.
when I went through the whole process and understood, the basic thing that was missing was there was no meeting of minds. The expectations were not set. There was no clarity between them in terms of what is one wanting to achieve. So there was always a game of one-upmanship. All I did was that I got them on the same page and then restructured the transaction in a win-win situation. And today they are there with the 80,000 square feet space, happily doing business.
So, in your experience, Prashant, what do typically do investors look at? Now, I'm talking about individual investors, okay, or maybe family-owned kind of groups of people, right? So, while making a transaction, what is typically the mindset that you face, or is there different mindset? I mean, I don't know. Something that you need to tell us. So,
That is a little louder.
yeah, sure. So, can you hear me now?
Yeah, better.
Okay. So, my question is, so when there are serious investors who are looking at real estate as an option as part of their investment mix, what is
Hmm.
the typical expectations that they tell you, and how do you then, I mean, then obviously you help them with the uh, making the right decision. But what are the expectations that people have?
Well, there are expectations galore. The most basic expectation that people have is that my investment should double in the next 4 years, 3 years in value, and it should give me supernatural return. It should give me about 10 to 12% returns. And it should ensure that, so today I bought the property at 10 crores, it should be 20 crores in 3, 4 years. Okay. And that is the first set of mismatch.
Right.
And then we have to really handhold them and make them understand that it is not so. And then go ahead and advise them on rock solid process and strategy and show them how do you multiply that success. And it typically goes the rich dad poor dad way. If anybody of them has read it, good. If not, then we tell them the great point, and then they're happy ever after.
And typically, what are the factors that you advise them to look at? I mean, I'm sure there is a macro picture that you show them, and then add a micro picture. So typically, what are the factors and trends that you want want them to consider before they make it? Because once the decision is made, it's made. Right? And it's only a matter of executing.
Good question, Vipul. Uh, it is always better to ride the wave, okay,
Right.
or ride the trend, okay. Make the trend your friend, okay, is my tagline,
Okay.
even for real estate investments, okay.
Right.
For example,
Yeah.
currently, if you talk about the current market, because that will give the right perspective to our listeners, is today we are in a phase where on the residential side, we are grappling with the oversupply or the overhang phase. Okay. If you see the equity markets, they have been dampened for some time now. And typically, the real estate market and the equity market always play a catch up. So the moment the real estate market, the equity market tanks, there is a lag of 4 to 6 months before the real estate market tanks.
Right.
Okay. But instead of using that as a theorem, I always ensure and educate my clients that you look at the macro picture in a way like this, that whenever there is an overhang, you will see more and more offers coming. There are less and less number of sales, which typically triggers more and more offers from developers.
Yeah.
A lot of new freebies that come up in the market. Okay. This is exactly what is happening on the residential part.
Right.
By the way, the entire real estate of Mumbai last year has earned the exchequer about 12,362 crores only in stamp duty collections.
Oh, okay.
Now that euphoria has ended. Okay, there is already a slump that we see because there are only that many buyers. The economic sentiment has taken a hit. People are a little wary about spending more, and therefore there is a slump. However, the contrary to that is that even though the market sentiments are bad, the economic conditions have kind of taken a hit because of the global happenings. The commercial real estate market has seen a upward trend. Now, these are fueled by factors like the global capability centers and the data center business, and then it has its ripple effect. So these are huge spaces which are taken, millions and millions of square feet. However, these particular businesses need to be supported, and there are a lot of ancillary industries which depend, or they are inter alia dependent on each other. Now, therefore, the real estate market on the commercial side is still gung ho. However, I advise my clients that if you want to buy a house for a real estate investment, it is always a bad decision. Always. Okay. It is sentimentally making you very happy that I got one house, two house, four houses, but it is not a sensible investment. You should have a one house to stay, and the other investment should always be in commercial because they give you better returns, they give you better tax efficiency, and they give you more appreciation. And currently is the market that people should invest in the commercial real estate market, however, with caution, because not every pocket is going to be investor friendly.
Right.
Okay. And that's where we come in the picture to guide you correctly.
To guide them through all the information and misinformation that you see there.
Yes. Yes.
So can you tell us about some of the trends? I mean, like I'm happy that you mentioned that looking at residential property as an investment is not a very good idea. Uh, So I'm going to take you up on that. But before that, let's look at some trends that are there in the real estate market. So how do you advise your customers in that context?
Like what specific you want to know?
So I mean, I'm sure there are some broad trends that are driving decisions, right? I mean,
Hmm.
like you mentioned, oversupply is one factor. So likewise, I'm sure there are other trends that you're observing, which is driving decision making. So can you tell us a little bit about those trends?
Yes. So, apart from the oversupply and other things or the other macro factors, I think I will enlist them for you so that it becomes easier to understand. First is obviously the oversupply, but please understand the customers are not, real estate advisors like us. So they don't understand that there is an oversupply in the first place. Okay. So what are the market trends typically, just to give you a flavor? There are a couple of locations which are driven by the current ongoing infrastructure development, okay, or we call it the transit-oriented developments,
Right.
TOD, okay. Now, these transit-oriented developments are happening in the places like Oshibara, Thane, Powai, Ghatkopar. These are the pockets which are burgeoning on the development side, and because of the transit-oriented development where the commute is going to be much easier. People are going to have a better life because they will spend more time at home than on the streets or the traffic. There is a lot of oversupply that has come in certain pockets. Like for example, Thane right now is an oversupplied market. Okay. Similarly, Ghatkopar to that extent is reaching that phase very, very shortly. Now, therefore, if I have to advise somebody, I will have to tell them from the perspective of where that person is in his or his her journey in life. Okay. Not everybody is in the same spot right now.
Correct.
Okay. So understand your spot. It's UYS is what we follow. Understand your spot in the life journey. So if Vipul Bondal is somebody who has 5 crore under his belt and he wants to buy a luxury house,
Right.
it's a different thing altogether because that is his need. Okay. But somebody who is wanting to buy a house and he wants to just splurge and have a good lifestyle and wants to take a 4 crore of loan to have that lifestyle
Right.
is a bad decision. And therefore, I have to give him a mixture of both. One, it has to marry his current budget, his current need, and while setting up for the aspiring goal. So I will have to give him a location, say for example, like a Mulund,
Mhm.
where it is still good for him to buy with a minimal amount of loan possible. And I have staged it for a good growth over the next 5 to 10 years, which if he sells after 10 years, he may be able to go and graduate to maybe a Powai Hiranandani and buy a 4 bedroom or a 5 bedroom house eventually. Okay. So that is how the dynamics will play for the client. I hope I have been able to answer your
Yeah, yeah,
question.
yeah. I can feel it. Okay, so I'll take one question, a couple of questions there on the community. So I'll just take two of them. So there's a
Sure.
question from Anand Sharma. So the question is, with all the automation options available, how do you determine which ones are worth investing? I'm assuming he says which property is worth investing in. So there's a whole host of options available, automation options available. So how do you determine? So he's asking it from his perspective. So he might be getting a lot of inputs from various people who are trying to sell property to him or wanting him to invest in some property. So how does one? So he says each one throws up, different options. So how does one choose it?
So I have not really understood his thing on the automation front, but
Okay.
I
So
am
what
assuming, and
I'm
correct me
assuming
if I'm
what he
wrong.
means is these, the various apps which are available, the so where there's no human interface. What they get is what
Ah,
uh, you know, machines throw it. I guess that's what.
Well, say automation has one basic funda which you should be aware of. One size fits all. Okay, and that doesn't work in real life. Okay, you want a good suit, you need to go and make it tailor-made so that it fits well on your body. You have a lot of ready-made options which you should try, and then whichever fits better, you will go and buy that. But it does not happen in the real estate domain simply because it is too costly a mistake. So I would never recommend an automation kind of a scenario where you input your stuff and then automatically you have an answer. That even doesn't happen in the US for that matter. So it is a good to have just for you to get some fulcrum. Okay. But when it comes to actually putting the money, you should get through the clutter, get through the noise, and get a customized solution. You should always use a good consultant, a professional consultant on your side. That is a must.
Okay, so what is the role of AI? So this is the next question, which has been posed by Rajesh Mishra. So his question is, with AI taking over many tasks, how do you see leadership evolving in the future? So, coming out of our previous discussion, so, how do you see, because AI is now, ubiquitous, and I'm sure if we put a question to AI, they'll also throw, you know, a lot of data at us and say, okay, this is what it is. So, how do you see leadership evolving in the future? I mean, leaders such as yourselves, how do you see, that transition?
So one thing is for sure, Vipul, your screen is free. So I think you have
No, no, I'm
finished the
fine.
question. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'll repeat the question. The question is, with AI taking over many tasks, how do you see leadership evolving
Yeah.
in the future? That's what Rajesh Mishra has asked. So, if you can address that.
Okay. Good question. Certainly, certainly. See, AI is going to be very, very inevitable in our lives, for
Yeah,
sure. Okay.
no doubt.
There is no way that we can shy away from AI. Okay. However, having said that, AI is going to be an enabler. Okay. It is not something which is going to be the deciding factor on which one should heavily depend upon. Okay. AI will help you to, filter out a lot of unwanted stuff, provided you know how to use and harness AI. Okay. Simple things. You can actually go and use a AI tool. And rather than using or reading through 10 reports or 50 reports on the real estate market trends, you just have to ensure that you put the right prompt to the AI, and it is called prompt engineering. And if you use the right prompt, AI is going to give you some excellent answers and kind of factors. Okay. And it can assimilate 50 reports in one page and give you the exact concise input that you need, provided you are clear what you want, what you're looking for, and whether you can use the right prompt for it. Okay. If you can do that, then you get the best crux of the matter. However, to get it done for you or for you to implement that, you will still require a professional on your side because AI is only going to give you the text. Okay. Ultimately, on the field, to fight the battle, you will need that sword and a shield, which the professional is going to provide.
Uh, Prashant, these days we hear a lot about investing in the Middle East, especially options available in Dubai. Uh, you know,
Yes.
it's heavily advertised. It's every other seminar and event that you go, you'll find somebody from Dubai, there telling us, okay, look at real estate in Dubai as a and the rest of Middle East as well, and as investment options. So, what's your take on this? I mean, general take. I'm sure specific you may have certain suggestions, but what is your take in general?
So it's a great option, no doubt. Dubai is a land which is of innovation and imagination extravagantly. Okay. It is anything and everything in the world that is the best. Okay. Let's not shy away from that.
Yeah.
Uh, because of its golden visa program, you can have a permanent residency for 10 years and above, and you can continue that 10-year hit after every 10 years. And today, if you have the capability of investing about 4.5, 5 crores, rather than you buy a house in Mumbai, you get a world-class lifestyle in Dubai. So certainly, yes, it's a very lucrative thing. Dubai, especially in the Middle East region, has been the torchbearer of the entire, fabulous return on investments. In the last year, they have sold about 200,000 apartments, of which 15,000 apartments has come only in the last quarter. Okay. Uh, However, having said that, though it's a land of opportunities and it will continue to be, there's a little word of caution that don't go full out on it unless and until you have vetted out, again, the long-term needs, the macroeconomic factors that are going to affect it. But who would not want to go there with zero corporate tax, zero income tax, uh, as less as possible, administration charges, two-pager document which is standard. No developer can even change a comma and a full stop on that document. Everything systemized. There is something called Dubai REST. Okay, that is one platform on which everything is done. You can just pay wherever you are in the world from. You can just pay through that and you're secure. So that kind of security systems, everything is there. But when you put in your hard-earned money, ensure that you are putting it in the right place and for the right duration. Know that it is not going to give you citizenship, and the macroeconomic factors are for there to play. So take a call accordingly is my suggestion. But definitely, it's a wonderful investment opportunity right now, provided you're doing it in the right fashion.
Also, a trivia question. Are you looking at any properties from Dubai that people can consider?
Uh, People can.
Are you suggesting properties in Dubai which people who have money can consider?
100%, 100%. We have a lot of options. If there are people, they should definitely come to us and we will be happy to give them the complete hand-holding and give them appropriate properties. And you know what, Vipul, I should mention this to you. There are a lot of Indian developers who are now going and buying land in Dubai.
Right.
Okay. So you have some Indian origin developers, who have come here and, like, I forget the gentleman, Mr. Rizwan, who's come here and Kanak, I think.
Come on.
Yeah. So they are one, who's an Indian guy, who's become so big in the Middle East and now he's coming to India. But now, Soba Realty, who hails from the south, has been in Dubai for donkey's years. But now there are a lot of developers, including all the big names, who are going and buying large chunks of land in Dubai. So don't be surprised in the next 5, 10 years, you looking up and seeing, the Rahejas and the others and Lodas coming up with big, big projects out there.
I'll take one more question if you permit me from the community. So this question is from our friend Nilesh Kale. This question is in commercial space for investment. Any suggestion whether we should consider medium or large size? Let's assume that funds isn't a constraint. So what he says, with all things being favorable and funds are also available, would you suggest going in for a medium-sized investment or a large-scale investment?
So to answer this specific question, I'll say that it all depends on how much is what you want to invest and what is the profile of the person who is investing. So I'll give you a quick example. Let's say I have a person who has a budget in mind saying that I need to invest 5 crore rupees. Okay. So I understand what his risk appetite is. And therefore, I would suggest a medium, when I say medium, it is something which is less than 5,000 square. I would go one step below. I would say you be in between small and medium. So typically, I would suggest 1,500 square feet kind of a space for you to invest in, which can be easily leased. Large investments are for people who have the appetite of making sure that come what may, they are not going to be scared. Okay. Because if you have a large investment, let's say one full floor of a 40,000 square feet where a company like an IBM is leased. So you have a rock solid tenant. You have fantastic return on investments. But if there is a turmoil in the market, if you have funded that particular property purchase with debt and you find problem, then it is not an easy investment to come out of. So therefore, you should always see how you are augured for that investment and take a call. But generally, for anybody to invest in a much better and stressless kind of a situation, you always play in the medium market. The medium market is anywhere between 2,500 square feet to about 8 to 10,000 square feet. Beyond that, it is all the big boys game.
Nilesh, I hope that's answered your question. Uh, okay, so let's come to the main reason why I invited you on the show. So that's about business networking, and you've been a networker
Sure.
for a long time. I mean, for almost
Yes.
12 years, you've been a networker, and a active one at that, right? So tell us about that journey.
Yes.
How has it been for you? You know, being part of BNI, and tell us about that part of your journey.
So Vipul, being, on the corporate side, we have always been networking, right? In one way or the other. Meeting clients, meeting peers, meeting people from various businesses in terms of our profession that we are in. But how that networking is done in a structured way, how one should go about it, is all that we learned in Vienna. It's a wonderful platform, something which is a boon to everybody of us who has experienced it and experiencing it yet. So for me, networking is a way of life. Okay. Networking is typically making worthwhile connections which stay for life. You are one of the most potent examples that I can give. We met at BNI, we are friends now and family. So typically, it all starts from there. And once you have those relationships in place, I think business is just a byproduct that will keep happening. And you just got to be at it, be genuine, without any expectations, and do whatever you can, for the people who you have networked with. The best thing I like about BNI is that it teaches the basic core to the human mankind as well. It is giver's game. Okay? If you give, the person is definitely going to give it back to you. But if you are going to keep it all across, close to your chest, don't expect that the person is going to do anything for you. It's just a way of life for me, and I've been enjoying this journey, and it's been very fruitful.
Okay, so looking ahead, and so far all that we've discussed is something that has either happened or is happening. Let's just take pause and look ahead. So, what next, Prashant? What do you see, and how do you see yourself? 5, 10, maybe 15 years from today. I'm sure you're going to be in the same field. Right? That I'm sure you're going to continue. But well, how do you see things happening, and how do you see yourself in those scheme of things?
So, Vipul, in the next 5 to 10 years, definitely, I want to see myself as a brand to reckon with, as a personal brand,
Right.
with the common people who would be buying maybe the first house, and I should be the go-to person for anything that they need advice on real estate. Okay. For people who are CXOs and HNIs, again, for them, I want to be the go-to person as a personal brand. Anything that they want to typically doing real estate, I should be their go-to man. That is number one. Number two, I want to ensure that I do a white glove service for the NRI sector per se, where I see a lot of NRIs struggling with a lot of investment that they have done helter-skelter in India, and they are staying, abroad. No one to take care of their properties and portfolios and stuff like that. So I would like to be the white glove service provider where I take care from pin to piano for them. And I manage their entire property portfolio, right from taking decisions to overhaul them, to maintaining them, to selling them, to administration of those, and so on. And the third thing, which I would like to definitely see myself as, is on boards of some very good companies that would be in the real estate domain. Now, they could be in PropTech, they could be in the REITs domain, the real estate investment trust domain, or they can be in the development domain, which is where I think I will be able to add a lot of value to them and make sure that I have played full out with whatever I have in me.
Great. So yeah, I mean, I actually missed while introducing you. So you're also a certified corporate director. You are a certified independent director and
Yeah,
a member of IOD Group. Yes.
yes.
I missed that part. So yeah, I mean, that's a logical extension to what you're already doing with your expertise being helpful to a lot of companies you can be on the board. So we are coming to the end of the hour, Prashant. Thank you very much for your time and for being so open and sharing your views with us. Uh, I mean, thanks for that. Thanks for making the time and being here.
My pleasure, Vipul. My pleasure, as always. Bye bye.